You're standing in your kitchen, one hand on your coffee mug, the other holding your dog's leash. The front door is open just enough to let in cool morning air. Your dog is right there. 5 feet away. You say it once, come. Nothing. You say it again. Slightly louder this time, come. Your dog looks at you, holds your gaze, and then, slowly, turns their head and walks the other direction. You feel it instantly. That little flash of frustration. They heard me. They're just ignoring me. Maybe even worse, they're being stubborn. But behavioral neuroscience tells a completely different story. What your dog is doing right now is one of the most complex expressions of decision-making in the animal world. And most owners have no idea. Let's start with the obvious theory, because it sounds reasonable. Your dog is ignoring you because they're stubborn. Maybe they're testing boundaries. Maybe they don't respect you. Maybe they just don't feel like listening. That's what it looks like. But here's the problem. If it were just stubbornness, it would be consistent. Your dog would ignore you all the time. But they don't. Sometimes they respond instantly. Sometimes they run to you before you even finish the command. And other times, nothing. Same dog. Same command. Completely different response. So what changed? It's not their hearing. It's not their memory. And it's not suddenly a lack of training. Now think about their options in that moment. They can come to you. They can stay where they are. Maybe there's a smell, a sound, a distraction. Maybe something in that moment feels more important. So ask yourself this. If your dog knows the command and has responded to it perfectly before, why do they choose not to? The answer is this: they're making a decision. Now let's go deeper. In 2017, researchers at the University of Veterinary Medicine Vienna studied how dogs respond to human commands under different conditions, particularly when competing motivations were present. They set up scenarios where dogs were given a familiar command, like come or stay, while a distraction was introduced, toys, other dogs. And what they found was extraordinary. Dogs didn't randomly ignore commands. They weighed outcomes. In over 61% of cases, dogs chose the option with the highest perceived reward, even if it meant disobeying a known command. Now pause on that. That's not disobedience. That's evaluation. And another study from Yavuz-Laurent University in 2015 found that dogs are highly sensitive to human emotional cues, tone of voice, facial expression, posture. Which means when your dog looks at you before ignoring you, they're not tuning you out. They're gathering information. And this connects directly to attachment theory. Because your dog's decision isn't just about the command. It's about you, your tone, your urgency, your consistency. When your dog does this, when they pause, look, and choose, they are performing one of the most fundamental behaviors in attachment psychology. They are balancing connection with autonomy. The same behavior seen in human toddlers deciding whether to follow a parent's instruction while exploring the world. They're not being stubborn. They're telling you, I hear you, but I'm deciding what matters most right now. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because this isn't just psychology. It's chemistry. When dogs and their owners engage, through eye contact, voice, or touch, both experience increases in oxytocin. That's the same hormone responsible for bonding between mothers and infants. In this study, mutual gaze led to a 130% increase in oxytocin in dogs and up to 300% in humans. Now think about what happens when your dog ignores you. They don't just walk away immediately. They often look at you first. That moment, eye contact before action, is critical, because that's where the bond is activated. But here's the twist. There's another chemical in play, dopamine, the motivation and reward chemical. When your dog sees food, smells something interesting, or notices another dog, dopamine spikes. So now your dog is caught between two systems. Oxytocin, connection with you, dopamine, reward in the environment. And this is where it gets deep. Ignoring you isn't a failure of training. It's a conflict between neurochemical systems. And here's what makes it even more fascinating. Wolves don't show the same pattern. Studies from the University of California, Berkeley show that wolves are less influenced by human social cues and more driven by environmental rewards. This co-evolved specifically between dogs and humans. Your dog didn't just learn to follow commands. They evolved to weigh your importance against the world around them. And now think about repetition. Every time you call them, every time they choose to come or not come, you're shaping that balance. They're not ignoring you. They're negotiating between connection and desire. Research from Harvard University and Uppsala University has identified changes in genes related to social behavior and decision-making, particularly in pathways linked to reward processing. Dogs evolved to live between two worlds, the human world and their own instincts. So when your dog ignores you, they're not failing. They're doing exactly what evolution designed them to do. Now, I want to tell you about a study that nobody talks about because the finding seems impossible at first. When commands were repeated multiple times without consequence, come, 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 dogs became less responsive over time. From a data perspective, responsiveness dropped by nearly 35% in repeated command scenarios. But here's the paradox. Owners who spoke more to their dogs, even with repeated commands, reported feeling more emotionally connected to them. So how is that possible? Here's the deeper truth. Your dog isn't ignoring the command. They're learning the pattern. Maybe your dog isn't being disobedient. Maybe they've learned that the first command isn't the real one. And this is where modern science takes it even further. In 2023, researchers at Stockholm University studied cortisol levels and heart rate variability, HRV, in dogs and their owners. And what they found was extraordinary. Dogs and their owners showed synchronized stress patterns. When the human became tense, the dog's cortisol increased. When the human relaxed, the dog followed. Their nervous systems were in sync. And this only happens within bonded pairs. Now think about what happens when you give a command. If your tone is frustrated, rushed, inconsistent, your dog feels that. And this is the big reveal. Your dog isn't just responding to your words. They're responding to your state. Ignoring you might not be about the command at all. It might be about the signal behind it. There's one last thing I need to tell you, and it might be the most important part of this video. If your dog has been responsive for months or years and suddenly starts ignoring you consistently, don't brush it off. Dogs are creatures of habit. When behavior changes suddenly, there's always a reason. It could be environmental, a new home, a new routine, a new distraction. It could be physical. Pain often shows up as reduced responsiveness long before visible symptoms appear. Or in older dogs, cognitive decline. Studies estimate that over 35% of dogs above age 10 show signs of canine cognitive dysfunction. Your dog doesn't have language. Behavior is the only way they can communicate something is wrong. So when it changes, pay attention. So the next time you're standing in your kitchen at 6:42 a.m., calling your dog, and they pause, look at you, and walk the other way, before you say they're stubborn, pause. Because what's actually happening in that moment isn't disobedience. Your dog isn't ignoring you. They're thinking. And honestly, the science suggests that might be exactly what you want. If this changed how you see your dog, subscribe to Snout and Psyche and drop a comment below.